In this video, we're going to show you how to install the Fender of the Model X using PPF. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to use our slip solution and we're going to go ahead and spray everywhere. Another thing I like to do is I like spraying around the area, especially because it's a little closer to the ground. So you can go ahead and make sure you wet your fingers and then you get your squeegee. My favorite is this angled one. I'm just going to go all the way, just like this. Just making sure all this contamination that's been sitting here can be flushed out, okay? And you got this top part right here. And there you go. So now we're going to go ahead and spray our slip solution around this again, just like that. Okay, and then before I get started and get the piece, I'm actually going to flush this corner out right here, and I'll show you why. Because I want to do this solo, so I'm going to use the reverse roll method. So I got my piece right here, just like that. And I actually have a lot of my pieces cut. So I got like my mirrors and my headlights. It's actually already cut and we already installed it. But that's an easier way to actually handle this so that you're not losing your other pieces. So let's go ahead and peel this out. Okay, and because I dried that area out, you can see that, look at this right here. And you kind of go down. And because I dried it out, you see that it's stuck really, really aggressively, just like that. And then you just peel it back just like so. And we can go ahead and start hydrating all these areas right here. I just got a little fold over right here. Oops, kind of fell on its own. All right, so now we are ready, and you can see right here, it's moving nicely, and that's really exactly what you want. So first off, we're gonna go off this corner, okay? And what you're gonna do is you're looking at all this right here. This goes right to the edge. This is a soft edge right here, so just be careful, because sometimes I've seen this go a little bit further in like that, and it's a little bit misleading, right? So what you want is right under that, like so, okay? And once you feel comfortable, one splash of tack right there. And then go ahead and just tack this corner down. And there you go. So I got about, I would say 3 inches right there, and then we're going to go ahead and go to the other side, right here. You're going to start right here and pull this in just a tad bit, and you'll notice you want this above that line right there. And once you feel comfortable, you want to actually look at it this way. We can tack about 2 inches down, okay? Now, it's still moving. This little corner right here, it fits perfectly now. So I'm very happy with this line, okay? Wow, that sparkle looks really good. And then lastly, whoops, we got this bottom corner right here. I'm gonna go ahead and move this out. And there you go. And because I got all the 4 corners done, you can see everything kind of just lined up. Okay? And the first thing that I like to do is just make sure that this alignment right here, it's a little bit over. I just want to make sure that that one comes up a little bit. It's going to bring this up just a tiny bit. I'm going to line it up. And while I have it lined up, I'm going to go ahead and start right here, right at that body line. Right here, and just kind of go all the way. I'm still holding this all the way to the other side. Okay. And notice how there's actually a body line right here. I'm just focusing on the bottom, just the mid section right here. Okay. And then now that I got the midsection, I can go ahead and make sure this line is good, which actually is already really good. Okay, so next thing right here is I'm doing the top part. Remember, I already tacked this, so don't go into that area. You're gonna trap some of the air. And I know that there is a little bit of an edge right here. I like to make sure that it goes above, because if it's down there, it's gonna kind of create bubbles on these edges right here. I just want to do that. And then now we can work on all the remaining areas. So what I like to do now is move it all downwards into the autopilot camera right here. Okay. And then while I'm holding this line, it actually has an edge, so you get really good coverage. So while I'm holding that, you can go ahead and get it all out. And I'm kind of treating this up to this body line right here, right there. And then that is really good. And then after that, I can get the last remaining part, like so. I also tack this down, so you go away from that. And then look at that. So now I got this little section right here, autopilot section. So I'm gonna go ahead and tackle this little area by spraying a good amount of tack solution first, okay? And then let's go ahead and make sure that I get all the water, okay? And once I get to this, I wanna make sure there's no water that just sits right there, okay? That is an area that is common for water to sit, mainly because water comes down, there's a lot of slip solution right there. That is perfectly normal, so don't worry if you see some water right there. And then we can use our tack solution. And I'm actually gonna grab my smaller squeegee, which is right here. And then work that out with the tip of this squeegee right here. Okay. Spray more tack. I know there's some tension right there, but I'm going to deal with that in a second. So go slow right here. If you need to, you could actually just bring this up just a tiny bit, lift it up, so you can really get that edge cleaned up right there. So boom. Look at that. That looks pretty good. Really clean right there. And then now, let's go ahead and deal with all this right here. So you just want to spray into that area. And I like starting from the bottom. And then once I split it in half, you can actually use the tip again. Right here, kind of like to split it in half right there. All right. So now I've made it smaller, which makes it easier for me to deal with. And look at that. And now I got this section right here. I can pull this back just a tiny bit. Not a whole lot, but I can pull this back. Then I'm going to use without blocking the camera. We'll let it sit a little bit and spray a little bit. And I'm just going to use my finger as well. Okay. I kind of finished it out with my finger right here. And then I got a good little area right there. Okay. Great. So now I got the top edge right here. Again, spray a good amount of tack. I'm going to go ahead and push this down. You might have to get some heat gun later on to just make sure the edges are set. But honestly, the most important one is the bottom, because that's where kind of the water sits, whereas this one just runs down from that point on. So you can kind of use your finger to kind of run your finger through that area. We're going to go ahead and seal all of this, because this feels pretty good right here. All right. Go ahead, go all the way. And then same thing here. Do all the edges. And then this is where you can actually open up the frunk. All right, so before you do that, this is a warning. Just make sure it's not sticking, because it will lift up some areas. It is not stuck to anywhere of the hood. So once that's good, you can actually go to controls. So now that the frunk is open, makes things a lot easier. So before we get started, what you're going to do is you're going to flush out all this edge right here. If you have to, you can just peel this back just a little bit, then spray all that tack in there. Just go ahead and get the edge right here. Moisture like sitting right there around the edges. So you just want to make sure you get that out. All right, so now that I flushed it out and I got the edges right here exactly how I want, I'm going to do it one more time. I like starting from the middle, fold it down, okay? Start from the middle, roll that edge. Start from the middle, roll that edge. Because there's almost no tension, this should actually roll fairly easily, guys, so without a whole lot of effort. But you really want to make sure you roll this over. If you don't put enough pressure, bubble's going to sit right here, right in this edge. Okay, so I just want to warn you on that one. Goes all the way in right here. Really, really nice corner right there. Now we're going to keep going. That. You could use a bigger squeegee, but I prefer doing it in 2-inch marks, to be honest. It just feels a little bit like I have a little bit more control. But that's what I like doing it this way. Okay, there's actually a little trim right here. You can just pull this back. There's plenty of painted surface right there. And then you're going to go this side right here. You're just going to inspect. Make sure all of this is really good, which I love. Looks really, really good. Of course, the last part is my favorite part. It's the wipe down and the inspection part. So you just want to be careful around the edges. I see a very, very small bubble right here, which I can get out immediately. Some smaller bubbles right here, no problem at all. And that edge looks fantastic right there. And then go all the way out here. Same thing here. And then you can see, voila. There you go. So I'm gonna go ahead and see, I saw a couple bubbles like on the edge right here, just like that. All right, all right. Sweet. I think I'm good. All right. So next, we're going to go ahead and do the edge right here. Feel very happy about all of this right here. So next is basically dealing with this. Same thing like we did on the hood, guys. Just make sure that this isn't stuck to this fender right here. Or sorry, this door. It's not quite stuck, so I'm going to go ahead and just push this down. There we go. And then you're going to go ahead and open it. You want to flush this out. Okay? So go ahead and flush this out. Okay? And once it's flushed out, what I like to do is I like doing this little corner first. And you can see that I folded that over because that's going to be your problem. There's a little apex right here as well. So you just want to roll your finger over. And what I like to do is basically first off make sure that you could actually wait and do this when it's dry. Or you could just kind of keep going, but you can just use your finger and roll this over. And you want to be kind of aggressive with it, to be honest. Okay? There's plenty of material to fold over, and there's a lot of edge right here. So you should have pretty low issues, in my opinion. Okay? While you're doing this, just make sure that everything is good. Okay, and then now we got a little smaller part right here. So we haven't flushed this out yet either. Go ahead and flush that out. Do the same thing, just make sure all the edges are good. And then again, aggressively using your fingers. And look at that. There's actually a rubber gasket that is on the door. So before you close it, I would be very careful and let this sit like this without closing the door, maybe for a couple hours at least. Okay? We want to do this one more time, just making sure we look at all the line, there's no bubbles, which we don't. There's one area that popped back up. That's no problem. I have to get that one, it's a little drier, but that's okay. And that's pretty much it though. Final inspection right here. But other than that, this fender is now protected. Let's go. And that's how you do it.